The following podcast is taken from a live broadcast on Inspire FM.
Catch a creative vibe on the Urban Cube with Sister Shamiza.
Good morning. Assalamu alaikum, and a very, very hearty, warm welcome to you to the Urban Cube show, brought to you on Inspire FM this morning. Time is 10 o'clock, Monday, 7th of October, and you're listening to me, Shamiza, taking you all the way up to 12 o'clock. We've got another jam-packed show today with great conversations with inspiring trailblazers, inspiring you in so many different capacities this morning, from climate change to fundraising to virtual reality. Yep. And also we're going to be talking about anti-bullying on the show today because it is World Anti-Bullying Day. Now, the show you're listening to is the Urban Cube, but we are Facebook Live this morning. However, it's no guests in the show, folks. It's all it's via phone, but please take this opportunity to get involved with any of the conversations that we're having with these absolutely awesome guests. Now, I have a number of guests, not one, not two. I've got literally about four guests in this over the phone this morning. So it's going to be lots of conversations that are being had, and inshallah we're having a competition giveaway as well for a very exciting concert that I actually spoke to you about last week if you were listening into the show. Now, if you ever miss any of the shows, you can catch the repeat at 8 p.m. or you can go onto the Facebook Live Facebook page. Let me say that correctly. Facebook page. You can scroll back. And on the Inspire FM Facebook page and catch any of his shows there. And we also podcast as well. And you can go on to the Inspire FM web page. It's so much going on to talk about this morning. But before I continue, I want to ask how your weekend was, guys. I hope it went well. Kind of intriguing weather. Hot and cold. Are you actually pulling out your jumpers? We sure are in the house. It did feel like winter. The heating was on. The woolly jumpers, woolly socks were out. But I don't know how long it lasts because the weather is so unpredictable. But I hope you're keeping warm wherever you are this morning. And do tell me where you're actually listening from. I'm always curious. Maybe you're listening in from Nottingham this morning because my next guest is a very delightful brother who is joining me to talk about a charity that he is the fundraiser for, and this is the Salaam charity. Now, you may recognise the name. It's Zidan Querishi. He has been a regular on the show, sharing his wonderful work with this very exciting charity. Now, not yesterday. It does feel like yesterday. Last week was talking about Echoes of the Beloved, which is a charity dinner tour, and we were giving away tickets for that. Still have a ticket available for one person, and we're going to be throwing a competition across the show this morning. Now, the Echoes of the Beloved is a charity dinner tour, and it features not one, not two, but three very exciting nasheed artists from Mesut Curtis, Ahmed Rabbani and Muad. You had the pleasure of listening to Ahmed Rabbani's first single last week. We didn't get a chance to hear him before interview him, but inshallah I'm sure we'll get an opportunity to do that at a later date. But without further ado, be fabulous to actually hear from the man who has organised this event, who's helping to give away a ticket, no other than Zidan Qureshi. Assalamu alaikum, Zidan.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. How are you, Shamiza?
I'm very well, brother. I'm very well. Are you in Nottingham this morning?
I am, yes. Today I am.
Today you are. How's the weather keeping there?
You know what? It's all right. I don't get down about the weather. I like autumn a little bit, actually. It's not so bad. I love summer, but it doesn't really get me down. I like the rain.
Do you know what? Autumn is my favourite season. I absolutely love the process of the leaves falling, the beautiful autumnal colours. It's quite inspiring. It's very lifting, and I'm very inspired by this process of where dropping dead leaves and regeneration. Very soulful.
Yeah, definitely, and it brings about so much change and reflection to yourself as well. Actually, it's a nice time of year, and I know it rains a lot this month or this season, but there's so much barakah in rain. So you can't really complain about it, to be honest.
No, we mustn't, should we? But we are going to be talking actually a little bit about climate change and the rain with a very exciting young lady, a local lady by the name of Zunaira Malik, who's actually part of a fantastic educational program around climate change. Now, coming back to yourself, Zidan, I want to ask you, Goose Fair.
Do I swear?
No, Goose Fair. Did you? It's my childhood memories of growing up in Nottingham was October means Goose Fair. So for folk that are listening in, if you don't know what the Goose Fair is, it's actually a massive, big fairground. Sorry.
Europe's largest travelling fair.
Oh, I better get that right. Europe's largest travelling fair, which is held in, is it still the Forest Recreation Ground in Nottingham? Loads of childhood memories of going out with my family and attending
Candy floss, mushy peas, donut. There's crazy rides. Oh my God, they just fling you everywhere. It's a lot of fun still. So honestly, it's a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. It brings out the child in all of us, and we're never too old to sit on one of those rides, I don't think. So did you go down, Zidan?
I've been out of the city, so I came back today, last night, and I was in where was I? Slough and London over the weekend, and then Bradford and Huddersfield as well. So I was on two different ends of the country. Not in Nottingham, so I couldn't make it this year.
Oh, I'm sure you can catch up next year. Now, Zidan, you're travelling across the country, doing some tremendous work with Salaam charity. There's this fantastic tour. Has the tour started?
So, inshallah, the first day is on, it's 10 days from now, so 17th of August, and it starts off in Glasgow. And then we head down to Manchester, then to Bradford, after Bradford, we go down to London, and then Slough and Birmingham, inshallah.
Now, talk to me about the importance of this tour. What are you aiming to do from, attendees participating? It's a fundraising tour.
9 months to the public, really. And we thought, actually, let's kind of bring everybody together and all our supporters, those that have supported over the course of Ramadan, before Ramadan, and now, and let's try and create a nice family-friendly environment, bring some great artists that we've got good rapport relations with, celebrating Nasheed with regards to the beloved, and really just unite everybody for one common goal, and that's we're building a village in Bangladesh.
Okay.
And this village will serve more than 500 people, inshallah. So it'll be a huge complex with housing built on there, with a huge academy, with the library, with a mosque, with playgrounds for the children, I'll be providing healthcare. So we'll also be providing facilities and spaces there where people can train. We can deliver workshops. So there'll be quite a lot happening on this village, and we just want to build that village there for not only the people of Bangladesh that are living way below the breadline, but also hopefully seeing if there could be some transition for the Rohingya refugees going across as well, and actually making use of this.
You've mentioned the Rohingya refugees. That would be absolutely tremendous if they were able to have somewhere they could call home. And are you working closely with the Rohingya refugees in trying to provide support and just settlement?
So we work on the ground there with our own. So it's not through any third party or anybody like that. It's actually through our own staff members. We've just opened we're working in Cox's Bazar. So there's quite a few charities that are working out there as well. We're working alongside them. There's quite a few programs that we've set up. So we've literally just opened up a brand new medical clinic, and we launched that this month. So the director's flown out, and we're doing a proper launch, inshallah, in December, but it's all active. And that will be providing semi-maternal care. There'll be a lot of, I think I haven't got the full breakdown of what that clinic will be providing just yet. They've gone there to see actually what we can do. There'll be 2 days, I think there'll be doctors there, and then the rest of the days, we don't want it to be sat there empty. So we're actually thinking, what else can we do with that? And now we're looking at, again, delivering so many different types of workshops and training programs, helping people to actually try and alleviate them or get themselves out of the cycle of poverty rather than just always waiting for handouts.
Now, when you talk about ideas, brainstorming, getting ideas on the table, you've actually broadened this across the country, haven't you, by getting young people to come together and share their ideas in charity, fundraising and voluntary work. You also did this in Luton. What was that experience like? And did young people and members of the Luton community come forward?
Yeah, Alhamdulillah, Luton's really quite nice, I liked it. I mean, we've still got about at least 8 to 10 volunteers based in Luton alone. And we started off very small. I think the first volunteer meeting, only 2 people came, but that's all you need and that's all it takes. Just one person, 2 people to rock up at a meeting and just find out what it's about. And then from there, word just starts to get out slowly. They told their friends, they told their families. Other people start getting interested about what they're doing or what they're involved in, the opportunities that are being provided for them. And then more and more people end up signing up and joining. And it's quite nice. I like it. We started off with a very small, I think, a henna workshop back in January, February time.
And we had one of the workshop leaders, I believe, join the show.
Yeah.
I think they participated, led the workshop, which was really quite fascinating to hear.
They led the workshop.
So how can people get involved if they want to be a volunteer with your charity?
Literally just go to visit salamcharity.org /get involved. There are so many opportunities. I mean, I know people don't volunteer for the sake of gaining something for themselves. It is about giving back. But by default, and it is by default, so many doors end up opening up. I mean, we've just sent volunteers out to Indonesia. We've got more volunteers going out. We've got another volunteer right now in Palestine. We've had some go to Pakistan. We've got more volunteers go to Bangladesh.
Wow.
Next year, we've got some more opportunities as well for deployments to Somalia, Turkey border. We've got plenty of challenges to get involved in. So Marrakesh Marathon, Palestine Marathon. We've got these events that we need help organizing, and there's loads of people, obviously. It's not just me that's organizing it, there's a whole team of people, and this is all being done by volunteers as well. Just had a volunteer meeting in Bradford yesterday, where 8 to 10 volunteers rocked up, and I mean, they're so helpful, so supportive to the cause, and it's just nice to see people with like-minded views, opinions, and people that want to achieve something good and bring about some sort of positive change come together in one place and just share ideas. Is just really nice. And then actually those ideas fulfill them through and take them through into actions as well.
So you're making the impossible possible, and the reason why I'm saying impossible to possible is because it's actually World Anti-Bullying Day. I don't know if you're aware of this, Zidan. And bullying, unfortunately, is quite prevalent in so many different environments. It could be, we normally associate that with school, but it also can be in the working environment. You can even be in your own home, and it does impact individuals' confidence and their ability to kind of feel motivated and just feel as if they have value,
belong to a community and have a support network wider than what it is.
So, but what was interesting this morning on the Rise and Shine show, a quote was sent in by a wonderful, wonderful guest to Brother Tariq, and it said that if you find it impossible, there's no such thing as impossible. It should read as I am possible. I am possible. And that's very inspiring. And if you are somebody listening in and you're finding it difficult, it is possible to get out of this situation by talking, by speaking to somebody. Even in a school environment, young people's lives are so greatly impacted by bullying, but there is a support network there. It's just making sure that young people are aware of this and they're actually speaking to the right people. What's your thoughts on World Anti-Bullying Day? Do you think it's something important that needs to be recognised, Zidan?
I mean, I know there's a lot of, world days and different types of days that happen all year round. And I think sometimes, although we try to do something good by actually making, picking a day to make it significant, where everybody kind of talks about that issue, because there's, I think, sometimes so many days, again, it sometimes loses its value as well. Because like, oh,
Interesting.
okay, there's another day, there's another day, there's will this day, will that day, and I think it's gone down the route of starting to lose that, the value, even though the issue is so important and so great, because I don't know, that's what I feel. I think sometimes it can just be that way. I think there's a lot. I don't know. We need to think of more ways of probably trying to actually bring this subject to the table and having discussion points and actually doing something about it and having open dialogue and, I don't know, case studies, stories of films, theatre. There's so many different creative ways of raising awareness of issues of this importance.
Because it impacts
what that is, how that is, I have no idea right now. Mine is starting to tick already with so many different things. Just even looking around that. I mean, even to be honest, as touching on it now, I would love to see whether we could even get involved as a charitable organization in projects like this. What can we do? Because we work in the UK as well. So what can we do as an organization to actually highlight this issue and try one way or another address it or create another avenue or a platform, even if it's in pockets of society, the pockets of community. What can we do as an organization to get people out from the current toxic environment and give them something else to kind of concentrate on and bring them out of that? For example, volunteering is one of them.
Of course.
But there's many other things that we can potentially do. So it'd be quite interesting for me to actually bring this back to our team as well.
Well, I'm glad that the show's inspired that. So World Anti-Bullying Day has worked, because me talking about it has got you thinking, and inshallah, what your project, your work can do, because it's always trying to be innovative, isn't it? How do you remain innovative? How do you remain with the finger on the pulse? Some projects are actually kind of really reflect society.
It doesn't have to just be through dialogue. It could be through theatre. It could be through flash mobs. It could be through dance. It could be through so many. It could be through spoken poetry. It could be so many different ways that we can actually raise awareness about it. And it's just about me now connecting the dots with regards to the charity.
Because bullying it comes in so many different forms. This is, from cyberbullying, gang violence is bullying, child abuse is bullying. There's so many spectrums of this, and I feel it is important to kind of talk about it and to actually educate the younger generation in schools and how to tackle this, because it ruins people's lives. And also
and even ask those that actually go about doing this, the bullies themselves, as in why? Just a simple question as to why. What is the satisfaction of seeing?
Well, the research has suggested that it is because those individuals have faced some form of trauma in their life, and this is how they kind of tackle or hit back. Unfortunately, so they are. We wouldn't want to associate them as being a victim, but unfortunately, this mentality and this way of behaviour does stem from some form of negative experiences that they faced as well. Now, folks, if you're listening in to Inspire FM, this is the Urban Cube show. The time is 10:18 and I'm Shamiza, taking you all the way up to 12 o'clock. On today's show, I have the pleasure of speaking to Zidan Querishi, who is from Salaam charity. He's a head fundraiser and man with many innovative ideas in keeping young people and the public engaged with some really exciting charitable events, which are core to the essence of Salaam charity and their values. Now, Salaam charity is giving away a pair of tickets that I announced last week for this very exciting tour, with the aim of building a village in Bangladesh. Now, there are 3 artists that are actually performing at the concert or the tour, the Charity Family Dinner Tour, which is running across the country, and they are featuring do you want to tell us who they're featuring, Zidan?
Yeah, sure. It's Masood Curtis. He's flying in from Macedonia. It's nice. I guess we've got a nice balance between the artists, because they're all 3 different languages. So Masood will be performing in Arabic, and he'll be flying in from Macedonia. Ahmed Rabbani will be performing in Urdu, Punjabi. He's local from Birmingham, and then Muad from Yemen, originally as in background from Yemen, but he is also British born, and he'll be performing in English.
So English, Arabic, Urdu and Punjabi, a real eclectic mix. So there's something for everybody who participates. And what is it about the artist that you heard? Did you choose the artist when you're actually creating concerts like this? Is it a unanimous decision, or do you pick from a hat? How do you do it?
We kind of just, again, we put it to the volunteers. So we have like meetings, we have group chats, we find out who likes who, what do they want to do, put it back to them. When it comes to volunteers, we don't just say to them, okay, this is what we're doing, you guys need to go out and push it, promote it, and help us organize it. No, it's like, actually, what do you want to do? And how shall we organize what we want? We've got a month in the diary, we've got it spare, well, how should we fill it? What can we do with that? And then people suggest loads of different things. Muad came from another volunteer. I hadn't even heard of Muad, who he was. She said, I've kind of heard him, he's really good. I YouTubed him, he was great, but got him on board. Ahmed Rabbani, I think I was a staff member who told me about Ahmed Rabbani, and then he did something with us before, and he was amazing, especially live. He was so good, honestly. His voice.
We had the pleasure of playing one of his singles, and I was actually waiting around on the line, waiting for him to interview him. But unfortunately, we weren't able to make that happen. But inshallah, we will do, because it was really quite refreshing to hear him performing in Punjabi, and it's not something that I often hear. So having a young person actually performing in his own mother tongue, which is really quite inspiring to listen to.
And they've all got it's good timing as well. It kind of completely happened by fluke, but they've all released either a brand new album or brand new single, literally, 3 weeks from now.
Fantastic.
They've launched it. So they're all performing them first time live.
So that's a real treat for listeners. So folks, the question I have for you guys is, name me one of the artists that's actually performing on this concert tour, which is actually heading all the way across the country. It's called Echoes of the Beloved Charity Dinner Tour, and the first date is 17th of October in Glasgow, 18th of October in Manchester, 19th of October in Bradford, 23rd of October in London, 24th of October in Slough, 5th of October, Birmingham, and doors open at 6 p.m. And we're giving away a pair of tickets. So do tell us, folks, name one of the artists that's performing. And in order to do that, you need to WhatsApp us on 07779 481822. It's Zidan, how can people contact you if they want to attend this event, if they haven't won a pair of tickets?
If you haven't, they can Instagram us at Salaam Charity UK. They could either go to our website, salaamcharity.org, or they could give us a call on 020-3137-7093. But I think the easiest things would be either Instagram us at Salaam Charity UK, or just visit our website, salaamcharity.org.
Thank you so very much, Zidan, for joining us this morning and sharing the fabulous work that you're doing, and this competition giveaway as well, courtesy of you guys. It's, as always, a real pleasure to hear the wonderful work that you're doing, and I hope people will connect with you, especially the volunteers who want to kind of develop their skills.
Thank you so much, honestly, for having us on. It's always a pleasure, and it's always nice to kind of bounce and share ideas, and you've kind of given me something else to think about as well, which is even better. And for your next guest as well, I know she's coming on and talking about the environment and climate change and stuff like that. That did trigger something in our head, just to kind of let you know as well that even as charities, we have these events, we print these tickets and flyers and everything like that. We made this decision a few months ago that we're going down the route of actually just printing on recycle. What difference can we make as an organization? So even ourselves, little things like changing how we print, going down the recycle route, not having balloons anymore, and only just using maybe the paper bunting and stuff like that. So yeah, just starting to go down that whole route now.
That's absolutely fantastic to hear that you're becoming a little bit conscientious of the material that you're producing.
We're helping the people in the planet that we live. How can we not help the planet?
So that's wonderful to hear that you're making and creating those changes, and they continue, because across Ramadan there was a massive big drive for local masjids to make these changes. So it's wonderful to hear that charities are also taking on board the importance of being a little bit environmentally friendly. Thank you so very much, Zidan, for joining me this morning.
No problem.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you very much. And inshallah, we'll see you guys there as well, your team at the event as well,
Inshallah. Take care. That was Zidan Querishi talking to us about the Echoes of the Beloved charity dinner, and also sharing the fact that they're going to be looking at an anti-bullying campaign, and they are really taking on board environmental issues in relation to the way they print their material. Now, I'm joined by another absolutely fantastic guest on the show that's going to be talking to us all about environmental issues. She works for an environmental education charity, Action for Conservation, and she's went to a climate justice talk. Zunaira Malik, straight after the break. Assalamu alaikum.
The number one radio station for Luton. This is Inspire FM. Catch a creative vibe on the Urban Cube with Sister Shamiza.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning. It's 10:30 and I pressed the wrong button. So sorry if you missed a few seconds or so. I will be repeating what that was. Now, the show you're listening to is The Urban Cube, and we are talking non-stop about the environment this morning and encouraging young people to get engaged and involved. Now, there's a project that you may, if you are aged between 18 to 25, you might want to gain new skills, meet industry leaders, and create social action campaigns. Well, then you have a chance to pitch at a Dragon's Den. If so, Uprising may be the opportunity for you. They are taking applications for the Environmental Leadership Programme in Luton and the Leadership Programme in Bedford. Now, I'm going to be joined by a very delightful young man by the name of Ryan, who's going to be joining me after 11:30 to actually talk about this project in much more detail. Now, earlier on the show, I had the pleasure of speaking to Zidan Querishi from the Salaam. He's a fundraiser for Salaam charity. And what's really fascinating is it is World Anti-Bullying Day. He spoke to me listening to the fact that it was World Anti-Bullying Day, that he's actually inspired to actually run a campaign around that. What was really not even nicer to hear was the fact that he was inspired by my forthcoming guest on the show. She's going to be on the show very, very shortly. She's actually on the line right now. The fact that she is paving the way for climate change and justice. That was heard by Zidan, and he really, really made me happy by saying that even in his charity, he's been quite conscientious about how they print things and the type of material that they use in their fundraising events. So people are really making changes and creating changes, but it is a trickle effect. But my guest on the show is somebody that, is a local Luton lady who's really making her mark across the country with her passion for environmental change. So much so that she was actually sat on this Friday, she was sat at a panel at the Green Party conference talking about climate justice. And the panel debate was School Strike for Climate. Where does the climate movement go next? Who am I talking about? I'm talking about no other than Zunaira Malik. Now, she's a name that you might be familiar with on the show because I've spoken to her an umpteen times. She's my go green girl, and so she should. She's a real inspiration. She works for an environmental education charity, Action for Conservation. She went to this conference, this Green Party conference, to talk about climate justice, and she has been on the activism side on environmental justice on issues since she was 19, from going to COP21 to COP22. We'll find out what that means. Absolutely delighted to have Zunaira on the show this morning. Assalamu alaikum, Zunaira.
Alaikum Salaam. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well.
Brilliant.
Thank you so very much, Zunaira, from your very, very busy schedule, mashallah. On Friday, you were part of the Green Party conference. Wow.
Yeah.
And you were sat at the panel.
Yeah, it was actually meant to be a day off, but they wanted someone to join the Green Party panel around what the movement, where the movement goes from here, and someone to come in from a social justice angle, sort of climate justice that isn't as common in the movement. But yeah, it was really interesting. Yeah. How are you this morning?
I'm very well, and even better listening to you and the absolutely amazing work that you're doing. And you really haven't stopped since I spoke to you. It's been a good 5 years. I've been constantly speaking to you, and I've seen you grow as an individual. The way you're articulating these issues that are very prevalent at the moment. We've had this 16-year-old Greta really out there. A young person really, really challenging our concept of what climate change is. It's astounding that we're it's young people are now coming forward and airing their voices, making sure that really, really quite articulate and expressing themselves. Is the world listening to them? Are politicians listening to them?
I think it depends on who the young person is. So I work directly with young people in schools, doing workshops, we take them on camps, and we have that sort of relationship with them. They're that secondary school age, the age that you really you're kind of building up your sort of belief and your value system, and you're like understanding the world slightly better. But one thing I've kind of learned with the movement recently, with Greta Thunberg becoming such an icon, so big, and I think she's absolutely amazing and super inspiring. But one thing that it does stand out to me and a lot of activists in this sector who are not sort of white middle class is that young people from around the world have been speaking about these issues, but have not been given the same sort of platform as maybe Greta has, and that could be for many reasons. And there is a problem in the movement, which the movement is very white, it's very middle class. A lot of these voices are then therefore not as representative to communities around the world, especially those that are on the front line of climate change, or those communities that suffer the most from the effects of the climate changing. So it's been interesting to see how that reflects in who we decide to sort of push to the front of the movement and see as our icon. And that's not saying that young people aren't super inspiring no matter who they are, and I think that's true. I think Thunberg has done an amazing job, and she
is inspiring a lot of young people.
She's super inspiring. Yeah, it's completely. I think now that the conversation around that is starting to happen, there's been quite a few articles about other young people and other young activists who are maybe not Swedish or European, but are actually from the global south, countries where people aren't white, actually kind of highlighting that this has been happening for a while. It's just that's been largely ignored for certain reason. I mean, the UN conference that Greta went to, there have been other young people that have gone to that conference and spoken to leaders like that, but have not gained the same effect. And I think that says something about the movement. If anything, it just says that we do not take climate justice as seriously enough when it's not us, so when it's not the West that sort of are feeling the brunt of climate change. And it's a conversation that's happening. It's a conversation we had sort of at the Green Party conference. But yeah, it's interesting to see, and I think it's amazing to see young people come up, grow and build this movement. I think it's amazing. And it's just kind of recognising that this movement has been around for a while now, and young people shouldn't have to feel like they need to leave school to strike, but it's the matter of the fact that they feel that they have to, because they don't feel like change is happening fast enough, which is really inspiring, because they are the next generation. There's a lot of hope there, and it looks like they will do things differently, which is really interesting.
And it is inspiring hearing that young people actually, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, they wanted to take a day off to go and strike. I mean, my daughter and her friends wanted to, but they weren't allowed to. Yeah. And they even got, their parents actually wrote to the local MP to try and persuade the school to allow them to go, and nothing was done about it. But I just thought, well done you guys for actually taking the initiative, to showing your passion, but also respecting that you're not allowed to take time off school, which is quite, it was quite ironic, really. But we're seeing more young people taking note. We're seeing a lot more young people taking action, but at the conference, the question was, what next with the movement? So what is next, Zunaira? What is it that needs to be done next? Because the whole world is now discussing this. It is on. Is it on the top of the agenda?
It's a big question. What's next? So there's, because of the protests that are happening, things that Extinction Rebellion are doing, which not everyone agrees with, but whether you agree with those actions or not, they are starting to bring this this message, this movement to the front and to the priorities for the government. But I think now, whatever we do, there are solutions that are proposed, the green solutions that this country are trying to do. So net zero. So we want to be carbon neutral. We want to be carbon net zero by this, by 2050. They started saying, and now they're saying 2030. So that means that we are planning on, just so that if for anyone not aware, just in really simple terms, it just means that we are either capturing the carbon dioxide that we're releasing, the carbon emissions that we're releasing, to neutralize it, to make sure that there's no extra being added into the atmosphere. So we're either balancing it out in that way, or we're just switching to something that's green technology, that's making sure that we're not actually releasing carbon emissions at all. So the thing with that is that we have a sort of business as usual approach where we feel that we can continue the way we live and continue our systems in this country as long as everything's just like solar panels, or we're all driving electric cars. And there's a whole new bunch of issues that come with that, and that is that these materials still require a lot of extraction and mining from countries in the global south, is what we say. It's countries that in Asia, in Africa, we might not have coal mines anymore, or we might cut down on them, but there's a whole new wave of exploitation that happens in these new mines that mine minerals that go into solar panels and these electric cars and all these green new technologies. So it's about finding the next thing for the movement to do is actually to be honest about why we got into this mess in the first place, and it was through this lifestyle and this system of overconsumption, and we can't just switch where we're getting stuff from but continue the way we are. And I think there's a lot of chat and discussion around that, and it's also about the people who are in those industries that are polluting, but they have livelihoods and they come from families, and they're not necessarily rich people, they are people that are working, and it's about finding them jobs that will keep them going as well. So there's a whole new sort of range of issues that comes with it, and unless we're not any sort of green solution that's proposed, unless we're not taking into consideration the effect of people that are going to be involved in that, or people around the world that it ultimately will affect, we can't really come out of this mess. So there's a lot of, it's very economic, it's very political.
It's quite, it does seem quite overwhelming listening into this. You'd think it'd be quite a simple solution, just stop over consuming, think about the use of plastic, stop using that, because that seems to be the main thing at the moment in many places of retail, where they're kind of looking at the plastic packaging and reducing that. Straws have been replaced, plastic straws have been replaced in many restaurants with paper straws, and plastic bag use. That's another thing that people are uncomfortable with, but now we're getting used to that idea. So when an idea is presented and it's consistent, then people do follow it through. It's keeping that consistency, but it's very, very slow. But long term, it just seems quite scary, the reality of it, and that, and also reading articles suggesting that we're running out of time. There isn't enough space to accommodate these massive, big mountains of plastic that are turning into islands.
Yeah, I think it works both ways. I think there is obviously individual action that anyone can do, and it's about like reducing your personal consumption. But there is a sort of bigger, something happening on a larger scale, which is these huge, I guess, corporations or companies that benefit from the selling of all of that stuff. That really doesn't sort out any of the issue. Like it's just the same. It will cause the same problems in the long run. So it's about understanding what we can do, obviously, on a personal level to improve, I guess, our direct environment around us and our lives. But it's also about being honest about how this issue started, and it happens because we're in an economic system that relies on growing through buying and selling and extracting and wasting. And unless we don't sort of change the way that is operating, there is really, I guess, I don't want to say no hope, but there's really no change on a much larger scale. And it is a huge issue. It's super, super big, but it's also linked to so many other issues. So it's linked to the history we have in colonialism and how countries, exploit poor people in other countries to extract materials, to bring them back here, to, to fast fashion, to the way we fly around the world. Like that stuff all has a part to play in climate change. I think often people think climate change, they think, oh, it's an environmental issue, we just need to turn off our taps and switch off our lights. And actually, it's much bigger than that. It's more about how we become as a world and how we operate. And it's about.
But it's one step at a time, though, isn't it, Zunaira?
Yeah,
it's having that consciousness of being conscientious about the way we consume things. And certain, I'm coming across certain households that have really changed the way they are living, what they're doing, and they're inspiring others. And it's kind of inspiring. But I hear what you're saying. There is a lot more work to be done, and it has to be from the top down as well, rather than down to the top. Zunaira, folks, if you've just tuned in, you're listening to my guest Zunaira Malik. She works for an environmental education charity, Action for Conservation. She went to a conference to talk about climate justice. She sat on, that was part of the Green Party, she sat on a panel discussing where does the climate movement go next? And this was part of also there was the school strike for climate. Her work draws on experience of being an activist on environmental issues since she was 19 years of age, and she hasn't stopped. She's continued for this passion and this drive for environmental education. Now, environmental education, the charity itself, Action for Conservation. I recall you mentioning you were doing a recruitment drive for young people to get involved. Is that still open? Can young people get involved still?
Yeah, so we are working in around 10 schools currently. I think I am actually working in a Luton school, which is really exciting because I brought that to Luton. But yeah, so we run camps every year, and that's probably the best way to get involved. So the next camp will be in the summer, and basically you apply if you get onto it. It's completely free, and then you start your journey as an ambassador from there, where we can help you sort of develop your skills. And it's for everyone. It's not just for the young people that are interested in environmental issues. It's for anyone who, just wants to do something in the summer, or might not have that connection to nature and wants to actually go out there. But it's for all levels, all abilities, and that probably would be the best way to go about it, is apply for the summer camp when applications open next year. But also, if any teachers are listening, we do run a free secondary school program called Wild Ed, and that's for state schools across this region. And if you're interested, it basically just teaches young people about some of these issues and how they can then take action as well through student-led projects. So if that's an interest point, definitely get in contact.
And how do people get in contact with you? What are the social handles for this organisation?
So we're on social media, so we're on Twitter, so that's Action 4, so that's the number 4, Conserve. We're on Instagram, which is just Action for Conservation. We're on Facebook, Action for Conservation. So you can either just Facebook message us or message us on one of those platforms, or equally email us at info@actionforconservation.org, and we can pick that up. But yeah, they can contact you, Zunaira. You can just connect them to me.
Definitely. And your work is very inspiring. And earlier on in the conversation, you spoke about representation, making sure that it's diverse and being taken seriously. And you are, what I've noticed in a lot of the conferences and a lot of the panel discussions that you've been involved in, I think you're one of the only brown faces that I've seen.
Yeah.
Are more people of colour coming forward, and in particular the Muslim community?
Yeah, I think if you're talking about the mainstream movement, there are times where people like who are not white like me, find themselves as one or a handful of people in conferences, etc. That are there, and it can be quite daunting because they are talking about diversity on these panels. Like nearly every conference, there's a panel or chat about that, and it's like, okay, but something's not working, and you've been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah.
But it's not that people are coming forward now. I think there's always been community work, and you're probably aware of this yourself with like the local gardening that happens in Luton, the food growing. There's a lot of stuff on the ground that's been happening for years that people from that community, people who are BME or people of colour that have been involved in this work for ages. It's just not recognised in the same way as sort of mainstream environmentalism. I think it's just maybe faith groups doing some good work in community and I think it's now time for the movement. So you asked a bit about, what's next. It's now time for the mainstream movement to recognise these as, equally as important as all the other projects that are involved that take place in the mainstream. It's like these are this is the work, whether it's linked with homelessness or whether it's linked to, women's rights or social justice, all of this stuff. It's still environmental work that's happening on the ground. So there have been people doing this for ages. It's not a new thing. It's just about, I guess, recognizing, like people need to recognize that it's also environmental work, if that makes sense.
Definitely. I'm wanting to reflect on a quote that was sent into the Rise and Shine show this morning, and I wonder if it resonates with you, Zunaira. There is no such thing as impossible. You should read this as I am possible and I can do this. Has there ever been in your journey, Zunaira, where you thought, gosh, will anybody take me seriously? Can I really get involved with environmental work? Because you didn't go through the typical route of university, but mashallah, you've been very successful in the field that you're in.
Yeah, so that's a really great quote. I really like that quote. So I, as you know, I don't have that sort of university degree background qualification, and that's because I was a bit of an activist. I was kind of like, I'm not paying the £9,000 a year, getting into debt. So but I think by not going, I've actually gained a world of knowledge through experiences and being able to do things I wouldn't have done if I was tied down to a university degree. So I think it's worked out in my favour. But also now that I recognise, I think it's really important for me now to, whatever I do, to kind of simplify things. So it's about, sometimes it's not about the fancy words, it's about just talking to someone in a language that they understand. And I think I appreciate this much more now that, because I don't have that sort of background. And I want to make it inclusive for everyone to understand.
And that's really interesting that you've said that about making language so it's inclusive.
Yeah, it's the way we talk about things. You need to make it relevant and relatable to people, and not make it, because if we're just only going to speak about science and scientific terms, you'll get a whole, group of people that will just switch off. Like we need to explore this through art, through music, through speaking, through educational workshops. It doesn't have to be academic only. Like it doesn't have to be traditional academia. But that's just how I see it now. I think there's a lot of beauty in the way we kind of share, and
And you talked about a lot of beauty in the way we share, and what's really interesting is also World Inner Beauty Day. So is there anything that Yes, it is. So is there anything that you could share with our listeners this morning, apart from the weather, which is autumn now and it's very, very soulful, which brings out a lot of inner beauty around the environment, I think. Anything you'd like to say to the listeners about what makes inner beauty, Zunaira?
I think the details that we see in sort of the environment. I think for a long time what we do is we've separated humans from the environment so that we don't see ourselves as parts of it. So when we talk about nature, it's kind of like, oh, like nature, you're into nature. And it's like, we're not into nature. We are nature. We're a part of it, whether we like it or not. So it's about recognizing your place in the world and how everything is intricately linked. And just that itself is quite beautiful, I think. It's just seeing how humans operate and how humans think and how we live, but also seeing what our relationship with nature is like. And it's very, very vulnerable to these changes that are happening. And I think the best way to kind of connect with that is, I mean, the way I do it is my parents, like my family, and like back home where we come from in Pakistan, it's about how they grew up and how they had that really intricate relationship where they'd like bathe in the river and they'd wash clothes in the river. Like that's just, they had that relationship without calling it environmentalism. It was just their life, which is really beautiful, I think. And that's where I sort of find inspiration in that. It's very much closer to home than we think.
And when the washing machines just took over and there was none of that river stuff going on, and that was actually basic living, but that was like a beautiful, simple life that we would take for granted now, because we expect to be accommodated by all the mechanics of making life easier for us. Once again, Zunaira, do please tell us how listeners can connect with you just before we head to the break.
I guess the best way to connect with me if you're interested in any of the work or whatever is probably through my email. So it's just Zunaira, which is ZUN for November, AIRA, and then it's at Action, FOR, conservation.org. And that's probably the best way to connect with me. And I'd love to hear from anyone that's interested or involved in work that we, so we can connect and sort of build on the movement. But yeah.
Thank you so very much, Zunaira, for joining me this morning and sharing the tremendous work that you're doing regarding climate justice. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome, always. Take care, my dear. That was the wonderful Zunaira Malik talking to us about climate justice and the movements on the way forward. Now, we're heading off to a break and we're going to be talking to another delightful guest who's actually talking about a Dragon's Den for young people and environmental leadership. So join me straight after this. Assalamu alaikum.
You're listening to an Inspire FM podcast, making available our popular programs from our daily broadcast on Inspire FM.
Catch a creative vibe on the Urban Cube with Sister Shamiza.
Good morning and assalamu alaikum. This is the Urban Cube and you're listening to me, Shamiza, taking all the way up to 11 o'clock this morning. The time is 11, as I've already mentioned, and I'm joined by a tremendous number of guests still after 11 o'clock. And we're going to be talking to them about environmental leadership and a virtual reality town called Lutopia, an event that is inviting the members of the Luton community to come and observe at the town hall on a digitally enhanced town. So I'm super looking forward to speaking to Ferdousi Nisa Jahan from People, Power and Passion, and also Sophie Greswell after 11:30 about this very exciting virtual reality project called Lutopia. Now, bringing it closer to home, I'm speaking to another guest who's talking to us this morning about an environmental leadership program. Today, I've had great pleasure of talking to organizations that have worked very, very closely with changing the way they work in tune with environmental responsibility. I've had the pleasure of speaking to Zidan Querishi from Salaam charity, who spoke about the material that they use when they're fundraising. They think keeping things recyclable. They're not using balloons at events, and they're just being a little bit conscientious about what they do and how they do it. which is really quite refreshing to hear, because obviously the Muslim charity sector is quite big, and fundraising is where we see a lot of waste, unfortunately, too, when it comes to the concerts and the activities. And folks, we do have 2 tickets to give away to the Salaam charity concert. And the question for this concert is, name me one of the nasheed artists that will be performing at the event. And you need to WhatsApp us on 07779 481822. We were also joined by the very delightful Zunaira Malik, who spoke to us about her participation on the panel at the Green Party, where she spoke about where does the climate movement go next. And I'm going to go all the way to my next guest, who is going to be talking to us about how you guys can actually get involved in, or well, actually not you guys, you have to be a certain age, 18 to 25-year-olds, and this is aimed at enabling young people new skills, meeting industry leaders, and creating social action campaigns. And in order to do that, you have a chance to get involved by pitching at a Dragon's Den. Now, this project is called Uprising, and Uprising is actually wanting young people to become an agent of change through their environmental leadership program. And they're on the lookout for green heroes to join this free environmental leadership program. And it'll be one evening every other week, and where young people can meet expert leaders and find out ways to make a difference to the environment. I think we need to kind of find out from one of the leaders around this to talk to me in more detail. His name is Ryan Gray. He is part of Uprising. He's a senior program manager of the alumni, and really delighted to have him on the line this morning. Good morning, Ryan.
Good morning.
Thank you so very much for joining us on your busy schedule. Now, it's been quite a interesting show this morning, because we've really been talking about environmental change in so many different capacities, but you are now inviting young people to get involved and be part of this leadership program. Is this the first time this environmental leadership program has been run in Luton?
So this is the first time we've ever delivered a leadership programme that's environmental in Luton, but Uprising, we've been operating in Bedfordshire since 2011. Mm-hmm. So for those of you who don't know us, kind of what we're really about is trying to encourage young people to become leaders in the community, but not just around politics, but also about becoming school governors, becoming trustees of charities, and really about them feeling like they have a stake in society.
Okay, I do apologise, Ryan, for that alarm. That sounds like the fire drill, so just bear with me a moment. I'm with you in a second. It's live radio. These things happen. Okie doke. So we've got our manager hopefully about to switch that off for me. Okay, so this is, Ryan, what we're going to do is keep you on the line. Before we talk about Uprising, I don't want to kind of miss that information. I want to ask you a question regarding your actual role itself. Hello?
Yeah, sorry, I'm listening. Sorry.
Can you actually hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okie doke. Over that alarm. Now, this alarm, unfortunately, that's ringing is part of the actual community centre that the radio station is based in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep you on hold until that goes. If it doesn't, we're going to be having to speak over this. It's gone. Wonderful. Hello, Ryan. Thank you for staying on the line and being so patient. Now, folks, if you've just tuned in, the blaring sound was a fire alarm, which thankfully was just a test. And I'm sat here speaking to Ryan, who is joining us this morning as part of his work with Uprising. And he's talking about an environmental leadership program, which is encouraging young people to take ownership of their voice, it sounds. Now, what's really interesting, Ryan, is you mentioned getting young people to be school governors as part of Uprising.
So it's really about what Uprising we call big L and little L leadership. So often when we talk about leadership, we talk about parliaments, we talk about politicians, we talk about CEOs of big companies, but it's not just about that. It's also about getting involved on a local community level, and often we don't necessarily see young people getting involved in that. One, because they don't know how they can get involved. Often boards aren't maybe the most inviting for young people. So what we're really about is trying to get young people to become school governors. So sitting on a board, maybe it's the school that they were previously at, or maybe it's a completely different one. But also trustees of schools. It's really just trying to get them involved in different areas. It's quite sad in the UK that we don't really have a culture of young people being on boards. It's often seen as something that you do when you're old, or if you're retired. And there's a lot that organisations and whatever that organisation is can really benefit from having a younger person on that board. That's really what we try and do.
Do you think it's because young people are not interested in these areas, or nobody's ever introduced it to them? And if it has been introduced, what has been the uptake?
We found that it tends to be something that young people just don't even realise they can do. I mean, we're not necessarily told when we're at school kind of what the governance structure of a school is, to give that as a particular example. No one is ever really told what a trustee does for a charity. Or, for instance, another exciting one is that people can apply to become a magistrate judge. And again, that's not something that people often
young people from 18 to 25 can actually apply to become a magistrate judge?
Yep, so anyone over the age of 18 can apply to become a magistrate judge. Obviously, it's a tough process, but there are cases of kind of individuals who, I think it was 2 years ago, there was someone who was 19 who was selected to be a magistrate judge in Northumberland, I believe.
How tremendous.
So again, we, as a society, we don't necessarily know that, but particularly for young people, they're not told that. And then, so it's really about trying to get them involved, really feeling like they can lead that organisation and really use their skills, their passions, their talents to really support their local community. Because ultimately, that's what we want to do, is get these young people to become leaders in their community, represent kind of who they are and what they want to give to the world.
And it's enhancing their role as a citizen in their local communities and equipping those skills. And this is something that it sounds as if you're very passionate about doing. Did you start as a participant in Uprising before you became in the role that you're in now?
No, so unfortunately I didn't. Uprising is now 11 years old, but when I joined Uprising 5 years ago, I was living in Liverpool at the time, and there wasn't, unfortunately, the programme there at the time. We operate in London, Manchester, Birmingham, Cardiff and Bedfordshire.
How do you feel that if something like this was offered to you as a young, as the younger Ryan, it would have made a difference in your life?
I think massively, yes. I'm really jealous of participants when I get to meet them, because they go through this amazing 9-month programme that's kind of one evening every 2 weeks with no coursework or homework or anything like that, and there's no qualifications that are expected. It's just turning up and meeting these inspiring speakers, and they can range from, kind of your chief exec of an organisation through to your community leader, but it's also about we have workshops around things like public speaking, around how to manage a team, how to manage conflicts, and those are skills I'd love to have had at the start of my career, to be able to have this program that I could reference at job interviews, and I could use that practical experience, and that's really what the program gives these young people, is the opportunity to develop on the go, no matter where they're at. They could be a young person who is at university and is maybe in their final year, thinking about what they're going to do next, through to a young person who's a single parent, who is really trying to think now about what career they want, about how they can support their family, a young person who's a young carer, a young person who's a care leaver, and they all come together, and what they're really interested in is two things, which is the kind of self-improvement, but also supporting their community. At Uprising, we believe kind of the better supported a young person is, the more they can give society, is ultimately the better for us, because it means we get to benefit from that. And kind of every young person who doesn't feel they can get involved, or maybe doesn't feel like their potential is being reached, is ultimately a young person who isn't giving their best to us, unfortunately.
Do you think something like this should be rolled out in schools? I mean, it's from 18 to 25, but I just feel that school children should possibly benefit this, especially those at high school, to kind of give them more direction and work, because I just feel that there is still this gap where young people are still quite confused on their potential.
I think it's a difficult one with young people. We expect so much of them at the moment in that kind of that age of secondary school. So I think a lot of the skills that we want at Uprising, obviously, would be great if they almost at Uprising didn't need to exist, and they have these skills and they feel they have the confidence to go out and, you know, become a school governor or apply to become a magistrate judge, or, you know, feel that, you know, they can apply for that job that, you know, organisations stereotypically have never taken a young person like them before. But also what I suppose we're aware of is that young people are under such expectations now of kind of how they should behave and kind of their career trajectory, and with social media kind of comparing with their friends. It's such an interesting time for a young person if they have so many opportunities there, but also it's that feeling of that they can access them, and, you know, that they are perfectly capable to do them.
This programme does sound so exciting, and I'm so pleased that you've joined us this morning, Ryan, to talk about it, because with you mentioning the different types of young people that there are and the different kinds of impacts that they might have. You've talked about a young person, a carer, a single parent, young person, and, you know, and sometimes you just think that these, you sometimes feel that young people in those areas are kind of missed off, but no, you're actually bringing young people from all backgrounds together and all circumstances to give them opportunities. Well, we're coming back to the actual leadership program itself, the environmental leadership program. How can people get involved and get engaged, and what are you expecting them to do when they're pitching at the Dragon's Den?
So I'll start with, I suppose, the young people. I'll then talk about just any listeners as well, because there's ways they can get involved as well. And then I'll also then talk about Dragon's Den. So for the young people, they can visit our website, www.uprising.org.uk, and they can take a look at our programmes that we have on offer in Bedfordshire, and also other areas if they are listening further afield. And it's a really simple just registering of interest, and then we send them more information about the programme locally, and we arrange a time to speak over the phone if they want to ask any questions or if they have any concerns, because it is a 9-month programme. So, you know, there's a long period and there's a lot that goes into it, and so we want to make sure that everyone's informed before they take part in the programme, because it is free for them to take part, but it does cost us as an organisation just under £3,000 a place. So we're keen to make sure that people stay on the programme.
Right.
But there's also ways that other people who aren't 18 to 25 can get involved as well. So we're always keen to find volunteers who are interested in speaking to the young people. Maybe it's about an organisation that they work for or that they run. Maybe they've got an opportunity, a volunteering opportunity they want to promote. Maybe they've, after listening to me, think, it'd be really great to have a young person on a board. They can come in and speak to our current programmes. We can message our alumni. We have 400 individuals who have gone through a leadership program in Bedfordshire on our database. We can message them, and what we found is that 1 in 4 are currently involved in the local community. We had 4 young people stand for local elections back in May of this year, but we've also got young people who are trustees or school governors, and so if you've got opportunities that you want to promote, also if you've got an interesting story and you want to come and talk to our young people, maybe there's an issue that you want to talk about and you want them to be passionate about as well. We're really looking forward for individuals to come forward and talk to our young people about issues that are important to them in the local community, because it's not about the young people just representing themselves. It's about them understanding the needs of their community and recognising that as well. And where that fits in the Dragon's Den is towards the end of the programme, we get all of the young people to work in small groups, typically of between 5 to 7 young people, around an issue that they care about. So we have had groups do workshops around arts in Luton. We've had groups around mental health, around knife crime. And it's all about them creating a campaign or a project. Maybe it's an event. We had a group do a small music event in Bedford back in July around unaccompanied asylum-seeking young people. But again, it's about them picking an issue in their community and raising, maybe it's awareness of it, raising funds. But again, it's that project taking everything they've learned on the programme and putting it practically into a project, learning those skills that hopefully they can maybe continue that project on, or they've learned the skills then to take that on to whatever project they want to do in the future.
Wow, exciting stuff. And so I'm sure I've asked you this before, but how do you connect, or how do people connect with you? What is your email address for Uprising?
So my personal email address is Ryan, RYAN, .gray, GRAY, at uprising.org.uk. You can also find us on our uprising_beds on Twitter and uprising_UK on Facebook. We also have Instagram, again uprising_UK. So you can find us across social media, and please do get in touch. So we are really keen, if you're a young person and you want to know more about the program, maybe you're a parent or an adult who knows a young person, or maybe you're an individual who has an opportunity they want to promote to young people, or maybe you're interested to support a young person through the program, maybe as a speaker, maybe there's some training you think you could offer on the program, please do get in touch. We're really, really keen to get as many people involved in the program as possible.
And I think it will really, really benefit everybody in the community. This program sounds absolutely tremendous. And the program itself is an environmental leadership program. And the purpose of this is to really really nurture the skill set of young people to become leaders of the future. And do you have a Facebook page for Uprising?
Yes, Uprising_UK is our Facebook page. I am the National Alumni Manager for Uprising, but I also oversee the social media, so it's a good way to get in touch with me personally. Okay. If you drop Uprising a message, it'll be me that responds. And I can tell you more about our program. So with the environmental program, obviously it's a hot topic this week. And it's obviously a growing issue for young people, but it's an important way of us bringing in young people who maybe care about the environment but don't know how. It's often when we speak to our participants, the environmental sector or the green economy, if to use a flashier term, can feel quite cut off from, say, a young person from a poorer background, or a young person whose parents maybe didn't speak much about the environment. So the program's a great introduction to kind of the environmental sector, issues around, and it's not just about climate change, it's actually about kind of, housing in the area, about kind of waste, about kind of water, about kind of everything in the local area that we would consider the environment.
Now, I'm really glad that you've actually mentioned the point of young people from different backgrounds who don't typically would associate themselves with environmental issues, because this is something Zunaira had said. She found it more of a white middle class area of activism, whereas it actually affects everybody from all classes, all backgrounds, and all parts of the world and country as well. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think it's really important for young people and adults to kind of be made aware that, what is an issue that we all need to kind of support and participate on. So Ryan, it's been an absolute pleasure having you join us this morning. I know you're a very busy man, but it's been tremendous hearing about Uprising and the real difference it's actually bringing into young people's lives. And I do hope that listeners who are tuned in today will get involved or share this information on to young people that are looking for opportunities to develop their leadership skills. Now, we are actually reaching out to listeners in Sheffield and Peterborough this morning on Link FM and Salaam Radio. Now, if there's anybody listening in from those two cities or across our other sister stations, is this project, does it run across the country, or is it just Bedfordshire and Luton?
So the environmental programme is in London, Manchester, Birmingham, Cardiff, and Bedfordshire.
Awesome. And this information can be found on Uprising for those cities as well?
Yes. And all the programs operate the same. They start in 2 weeks. Applications close in 2 weeks' time. So if you do know someone, please encourage them to get in touch as soon as possible.
Wow, how awesome. We are also asking our guest this morning about this quote, and I wanted to ask your opinion on your experience on it. This morning, a listener had actually sent in a quote, and it says, there's no such thing as impossible. You should actually read it as I am possible. Can you relate to that, Ryan, in your journey of life? Was there any a time in your life that, you know what, you thought this work or this interest or this opportunity wasn't possible?
For me, I think it's about making sure you have realistic goals, and really trying to think personally for you, what does kind of possible look like? Because for some people, whether it's financial limitations or physical limitations or whatever it is, sometimes we can't always achieve the same goal. But actually, if you move from A to B, that's perfectly fine. If you move from A to C, and again, perfectly fine, but what's manageable for you. Often at Uprising, we work with young people who, you know, at the end of the 9 months, they might have achieved something that is something that might seem insignificant, like being able to speak in front of a group of people. And for many of your listeners, that might not sound like something that's huge, but for them, that's absolutely life-changing and really puts them on a trajectory to continue improving. So whenever I hear things around what's possible, what's not possible, I think it's always about, so long as you're moving forward, so long as, you know, you're taking steps in the right direction and always improving. I think as humans, kind of we should always be looking to improve. There's always more we can learn, more we can do, and then hopefully give that back to future generations in whatever form that can be.
Thank you so very much. And it's all about giving back. And this is definitely what Uprise is doing. It's giving, but also hoping to give back to the next generation through the leadership skills of this wonderful cohort of young people that you're reaching out to on this environmental leadership program. Ryan, it's been an absolute pleasure having you join us this morning. Thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.
Thank you so very much. Bye-bye. That was Ryan Gray talking to us from Uprising and sharing with us the very, very informative program, the environmental leadership program, and getting young people involved and giving them an opportunity to be ambassadors of change. If you'd like to get involved with that, once again, the following information to get involved is let me just get this for you. Here we go. It is right. So the program is environmental. It's an environmental leadership program, as I have already said, and it's about becoming an agent of change. And you can go on to www.uprising.org.uk, and they're looking for young people aged 18 to 25 wanting to gain new skills, meet industry leaders, and create social action campaigns. And they have a chance to pitch at the Dragon's Den. So if so, Uprising might be the opportunity for you. They're taking applications for environmental leadership program in Luton and leadership program in Bedford. You can find out more on www.uprising.org.uk/Bedfordshire and Luton. Now, this program is also accessible not just in Luton, Bedfordshire, but Manchester and Birmingham as well. So go onto the website and do get involved, do get engaged. I just think it's an opportunity that I wish I had whilst growing up. So I'm really glad that this has been created for the young people of our town, and not just in our town, but across the country as well. Now, we're going to be heading off to a break, and after the break, I'm going to be joined by another guest, two guests actually. I'm joined by Ferdousi Nisa Jahan from People, Power and Passion, and she's talking about Lutopia. And Lutopia is a VR gaming projection, and it's going to be an outdoor event, and this is about stories through VR. And what's your Lutopia if there was an alternative future reality for Luton? More to come straight after the break, so join me then. Assalamu alaikum.
This is Inspire FM, with you 24 hours a day. Inspire. Catch a creative vibe on the Urban Cube with Sister Shamiza.
Good morning and assalamu alaikum. We are on the final half an hour of the Urban Cube show with me, Shamiza, taking all the way up to 12 o'clock. On this morning's show, we've been asking you about this quote. There's no such thing as impossible. You should actually read this is I am possible. Has there ever been a time in your life where you've turned something impossible to possible? Would love to find out from you on 07779 481822. Now, on today's show, we've been talking to some tremendous guests who've been really at the forefront of creating change in their environments locally and nationally, from the charity sector to climate change and giving young people the tools to be ambassadors of change in industry and especially an environmental leadership program. The environment has been a key as the core of the conversations this morning. Now, you can catch any of these conversations that we've had on the 8 p.m. repeat of the show this evening. You can also catch us on Facebook Live and on a podcast as well too. Now, I have been talking about environments and I've been talking about change too. Now, this is a very different type of change to an environment, but through a video game. I'm talking about Lutopia. Lutopia is a video game, a live video game that's going to be played outside the town hall on October 12th between 6:30 and 7:30. And People, Power and Passion, the organisers behind this, are asking you to get involved. Now, a little bit more information about what this project is all about is the following. Now, this will be the free finale of People, Power and Passion, and it's an outdoor event featuring live VR gaming, projections and digital installations, music and street food. Now, what is your Lutopia? That is what they're asking you. So this is an opportunity for people to explore an alternate future reality for Luton, and they're asking what you think that would be. So over the past 5 months, People, Power and Passion has showcased the best of Luton's talent, stories and history. Now, for the finale of this spectacular year of culture, they've turned it over to the citizens of the town by playing a game in which all the content, characters and situations have been designed by Lutonians, and also joining a discussion about what would make Luton a utopia. So this is a very intriguing virtual reality game all about Luton, and anyone can come and play. So you'll be playing in front of Luton Town Hall for the Lutopia VR game play, and you can watch your friends explore a future version of Luton on the big screen. And also it's Tokoki. I've never heard of that before. Tokoki. You can join in debates about the future of Luton in a live talk show format. Sit at a table, take the mic and have your say. And it's an interactive digital installation produced by Luton-based associate artist Sophie Greswell, and also a live performance from the best of People, Power and Passion. Now, I will be talking to one of the members of the team behind People, Power and Passion, by the name of Ferdousi Nisa Jahan, who's going to be sharing with me her experience about the project and also her interest in creativity and arts. Now, she is a trainee digital communications and installation assistant, and she's been helping with the People, Power and Passion social media platforms. She also is passionate about photography, and she's been creating her own content that she's been using too. So it's delightful to have Ferdousi Nisa Jahan join us this morning. Assalamu alaikum, Ferdousi.
Alaikum salam, how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for joining me this morning. Ferdousi, Lutopia sounds super, super exciting. And I understand you've been quite involved with this project as well. Tell us a little bit more of what we can actually expect on the day.
Yeah, so Lutopia is a VR game. It's created by the artist Andy Abbott. Mm-hmm. You can actually play the online demo at lutopia.co.uk. So over the last few months, we've had loads of different workshops from like Dementia Cafe, Headway, and a few schools and youth support groups. Mm-hmm. So we've reached out to a lot of people of all ages. VR is not just for like young kids. We've had older people joining as well, and they've had a really good experience. So when you play the game, those who attended the workshops, you'll definitely see a few familiar faces. I've got my own character in there as well, and there's a few others as well in there. So it's a really interesting game. It's sort of looking at the future of Luton, and where nobody has to work. So what would you do with all your free time, and how would a community work, and just what sort of stuff would you get up to, really?
So a future of Luton where if you didn't have to work, what would you do with your free time? That is a real alternate reality. Is there? I mean, there are lots of people who, should I say this, don't work, but then there's lots of people who volunteer and don't get paid for that and do that with passion, and other people that don't volunteer or do any work. But you're asking, if you didn't have to work and everything was free, what would it look like? Goodness me, that is a very intriguing question. So what would that look like for you, Ferdousi?
I think when I did the workshop myself, what I sort of talked about was, I think I would spend more time with family and friends and doing more passion projects. I think with the whole idea of you don't have to earn money or work, that takes away from a lot of your time. You've got a lot more time now to work on stuff that you want to do rather than what you have to do.
That would really create a healthy mindset for many people who feel quite overexerted from their working day or working week, and some people are working 48 hours on shifts and not having to do that, so that you can actually focus on your family and your friends and things that you want to do, would really create an absolutely wonderful world to be in. But that's some people are able to do that, but many others are not, because you have to work to survive, to pay the bills. Unfortunately, that is a reality of our time. But this is an opportunity for people to kind of, create that utopia or Lutopia. I found that really quite intriguing. How did you get involved with People, Power and Passion, Ferdousi? Tell us a little bit about yourself. I understand that the digital world is something that interests you and inspires you.
Yeah, so I've done digital comms for a few of my own passion projects, which is where I've developed most of my skills in it, really. I saw adverts for People Power Passion online everywhere, and I kind of wanted a career change from a dead-end admin job that I was doing. So I applied, went to an interview, and I got it, alhamdulillah. And it's been a great experience so far. I've met loads of different artists, loads of different other people in the art scene, and yeah, it's just been really good getting involved in a different side that I wouldn't have normally.
Wow. So you took, because the quote that we've been asking everybody to kind of, and especially our guests, to reflect on is, there's no such thing as impossible. You should read this as I am possible. Do you think that's kind of you in a nutshell at the moment with working with People, Power and Passion?
Yeah, definitely. Like I was saying, I left a dead-end admin job, so I definitely took a leap of faith and tried something completely different. Didn't really care much about finances or anything. I thought this is something more along the lines of what I want to do as a career. And this has been a great platform for me to network with more people, and just getting involved in a local project that's for local people. I think that's one of my other passions as well. I studied locally. I went to the University of Bedfordshire. So I am a very proud Lutonian. I really want to give back to my community and just work within my town and help my town grow.
Mashallah. Now, you studied English language and linguistics at university, and so how did you end up studying a degree like that and end up in a boring dead-end admin job? What were your plans for the future? What did you want to do initially?
I was the first in my family to go to university, so I didn't have that much guidance within the family, because it wasn't their fault, but nobody really knew how to go through that route, because nobody had in the past. So I was sort of on my own, choosing, okay, this is what I want to do. College had their own support and guidance, which I was able to use. English, initially I wanted to go into teaching, but then I realised that wasn't for me. But I really enjoyed my degree because it's definitely more of communications and work in the community, and there's a lot of cultural aspects involved in the degree that I did, which I really enjoyed. And I feel like I am definitely able to use that in all aspects of my volunteer work, career, and even like on personal level.
So what advice would you give to any young person or anybody listening into the show this morning where they might think that their dream is impossible, but it can be possible? What would you wish to say to them?
There's no time like the present. I think that's something that I realised during university. If I don't do it now, then I'll probably never do it in the future.
Wow.
So it's always worth taking a risk. Even if you fail at something, that's still a learning curve. You've learned something from it. I always think any opportunity you get, take it, learn from it and grow. For me, that's sort of how I've developed, really.
Mashallah. Now, I had the pleasure of actually meeting you at a Scratch performance, and it was really inspiring meeting you because, you know, you wear an abaya, you wear a hijab, you're actually in an artistic industry, which we don't find typical of our sisters working in, and I found you quite a wonderful ambassador for the work for the way you are and the work that you do, and I found that really inspiring. How the way you dress has not impacted you in the work or the industry that you're heading into?
Oh, definitely not. I think, especially within the Asian community, you're either a doctor or you're an engineer, nothing else. So for me to do my degree was Bachelor of Arts, so to do that, I mean, I did get a few raised eyebrows from uncles whose opinions I don't really care about. But you do get a lot of stick within the community for not doing a sciencey sort of career or a sciencey degree. But I think it's important, especially for Muslim women, to be leaders in every aspect of every sector. I think that's the only way that we can progress as a Muslim community. So I think that's, again, one of my other passions.
And so your passion is very clear in your voice. And coming back to the Lutopia project, do share with us what this project is. It's an alternate reality. It's a VR video game, but a video game with a difference. Share with us more, Ferdousi, what our listeners can expect at the town hall. Is it this Saturday or is it this Friday? It's this Saturday.
Saturday, so 12th of October.
Mashallah, so 12th October outside the town hall, which will be the finale of People, Power and Passion. It will be Andy Abbott's Lutopia project, which we have a local fantastic artist by the name of Sophie Greswell, who has also supported the digital this digital project. But it's what I'm excited to find out from you, Ferdousi, is what is it all about?
Yes, Lutopia is a VR game. So from 2 o'clock onwards, we'll have all sorts going on outside the town hall. It's going to be very much interactive and communicative sort of feel to the night. So we'll have Lutopia happening for people to play. There's also talk-karaoke that you mentioned earlier. So it's sort of like a talk show style pop-up table. So we'll have people coming down and they can just talk, let us know what you feel about People by Passion and how they enjoy the game. It's very much, it's very conversational approach to it all, really.
So it's giving people a no bars, no restriction opportunity to express what they think about the project itself, People, Power and Passion, which has been going on since the summer holidays. Tell us what about some of those projects and what has been your key favourite one?
I think they've all been really good. I mean, I really enjoyed our last event, which was the Children's Peace Party.
Oh, yes.
It was in Moordown Park in September. I mean, the weather was great, and then the whole idea behind that day was let the kids run the day. So we had kids from Chantry Primary School and I think Whitefield Academy who helped out. and it was so cute listening to them say, "Oh, I've just finished my shift. I'm on break." So it was really sweet to hear them talk like that, and they did an amazing job. They were fantastic, and I think Mary Hearn was the lead artist on that. So she worked with I think they're called Rara art from London. She worked with them, and they were able to do workshop with the kids all throughout the school term, and they created all the bunting and all the printing.
Wonderful.
Which they did on the day.
And you mentioned that it's allowing children to have do shifts. So do you think it's important to kind of encourage this type of responsibility early on with children for self-development and leadership?
Yeah, I mean, from that day, it seemed like they really enjoyed having something to do, and it really showed because they were given responsibility, and they definitely held honour to that, and they took it very seriously. I mean, they had fun throughout the day. Everyone did. It was such a nice day. And
wonderful.
They were great. They were really awesome.
Now, what happens after People, Power and Passion? It's been advertised across the whole of the town. You know, lots of little pockets of projects across, I think, 3 or 4 months. I think it was 6 months. And what's the story after this? Is there going to be a follow-on project, or is this it?
I really hope so. I know that on a personal level, I've been able to network with a great group of artists. So I really hope that we are able to, you know, create that a little hub or like a little collective. So PPP is mainly for the Luton's City of Culture bid, as a run-up to that. So I do think there's still a lot more to come. There's a lot more for Lutonians to get involved in.
And it does sound as if lots have been happening across the town, but it doesn't stop there. This Saturday, Town Hall from 2:00 is the finale of People, Power and Passion, where Lutopia will be showcased. It's a piece which has been created, a video game by Andy Abbott and Sophie Greswell, and it's an invitation for the community of Luton to come down and get involved. Now, there are free tickets to this event, right?
Yeah, like with all the events I've done for PPP, it's all free.
And how can people access these tickets?
So if you check our Facebook page, we are also on Eventbrite. So I think even if on Google, if you just type in People, Power, Passion, Lutopia, it should be one of the first 2 search results. And
we get to see your contribution to the video game. Is there a character that you've created, and what does your character look like, and does the character have a name in this video game?
So my character is me. I thought I'll just take the chance and have myself in the video game. I did quite want that. So it's myself, Ferdousi. It's pixelated as a digital character.
Wow.
And there's loads of different characters from Luton. I'm sure when you come down, you will recognise a few of the faces, the digital faces.
How exciting.
To actual Lutonians.
How exciting. It does sound very, very exciting, very unique. I've never seen anything like this before. It really is taking you into the future, and especially an alternate world where, you know, you're living your life for free and you're able to kind of commit to your passions, and they're at the forefront rather than something that you do in your spare time. What an interesting world. Goodness me. I do think that if that was possible, we'd have a nicer society. Would you agree, Ferdousi?
Yeah, definitely.
Now, Ferdousi, I want to ask you, what's the future for you? You left a mundane admin job to try your luck out with People, Power and Passion on the digital side of your interests. So what else are you getting yourself involved with, and how can people connect with you?
Yeah, well, I'm on Twitter at Ferdousi. It's spelled in a funny way, so it's FURDEWSY. And I'm a freelance photographer, still
Wonderful.
Very much amateur, but that's sort of my creative field. That's something that I'm definitely interested in progressing in.
Now, did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. Where did your name originate from? It's so stunning.
From when I researched it, it's Persian. There was an old Persian poet called Ferdousi as well. But it's my granddad named me, so it's from the Quran as well.
Mashallah. So is there an element of poetry in your passions?
I mean, a little bit. I mean, I would love to dabble. And I mean, I do love listening to poetry and reading about poetry. It's something that I would definitely like to get more into and get my teeth into.
Do you feel that because you've participated in a project like this at this scale, that it's kind of enabled you to have the confidence to reach out and do other things that you may not have done in the past?
Yeah, definitely. I think getting involved in People by Passion was a great choice for me. It was definitely a leap of faith that I took. But it has been great, and I've met a lot of amazing people.
Fantastic. Now, it's also World Inner Beauty Day being celebrated across the world, and kind of enabling people to kind of focus on the internal rather than the external. Ferdousi, I want to ask you, what do you think for you is the definition of inner beauty?
What is what? Sorry, I missed that.
The definition of inner beauty. What do you think? What does that mean to you?
I think that, for me, that means having confidence within yourself, not really caring about what society thinks about you, or adhering to Western ideals of beauty. I think that's something that's quite strong for me, because especially wearing hijab and abaya, I don't fit into what a Western image is of fashion or beauty, and I know that and I accept that, but I'm still very much happy in how I look and how I dress, because I'm doing it for a higher purpose.
And it hasn't stopped you or been the barrier for the interest that you have, and in this project that enabled you to kind of become a bit more steadfast.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think when it comes to inner beauty, it's just have confidence within yourself. There is way more to life than what you put in your face, if that makes sense. I think if we start caring less about what other people think, we will achieve way much more.
And do you think that should be something that should be taught to the younger generation, like from a school age? Because I'm just getting slightly concerned with the impact of social media. For somebody who works in social media, this would be quite an interesting question to ask. The influence on the mental health of young people, and especially in particular girls, and their image of what beauty standards should be. And it does seem to spark off from Instagram.
Yeah. I mean, I've done a lot of social media, like for professional use, but I'm sort of starting to dislike it on a personal level, because it does impact young people in such a negative way. Like Snapchat, for example, some of the filters that you get on there.
Oh, crikey, yeah.
It's like, like they make your eyes bigger, your skin is smoother, they thin out your cheeks. Thinking it's really selling a bad idea to young people in general. Even something I think, I wish I looked like that, but it's just an image on my phone. It's not. I think there is a problem there.
It's not real, is it? Especially when you're seeing young people. Not young people, but just people generally actually having cosmetic surgery so they look like their Snapchat filter. That's extremely worrying. And I'm really glad that I came from a generation where none of this applied. The only thing we got inspired by beauty was either looking through the Avon catalogue growing up. That was like our thing as children, which is quite funny. People, there are lots of other catalogues you can look through as well, so I'm not brand endorsing there, I promise you. It's been an absolute pleasure, Ferdousi. Thank you so very much for joining us this morning. It's been really inspiring listening to your journey, making the possible out of impossible and sharing your thoughts on so many different things. Thank you so very much, and good luck with the event on Saturday.
Thank you for having me.
You're very, very welcome. That was Ferdousi talking about Lutopia, which has been showcased and aired at the Town Hall 2:00 this Saturday. It's a free event, but you do need to go onto Eventbrite, go onto People, Power and Passion to check that out, and do get yourself down there and get involved with this video game, which is showing you the alternative side of Luton, which has been created by Andy Abbott and Sophie Greswell. Now, folks, it is the end of the show. It's been absolutely tremendous speaking to all these trailblazers. Do catch the repeat at 8 p.m. from me. Have a fantastic day. Do go out and do what makes you happy and passionate. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Why not tune in to our live stream at inspirefm.org and follow and subscribe to our social media platforms at Inspire FM Luton.